But first, it's not unknown for the Parliament to sit through the night debating urgent bills, especially at the end of a year or near the end of a term. Still, the fact that the Morrison government has only just got around to introducing this week and now debating its religious freedom legislation in the dying days of this Parliament, despite this being a commitment of the Turnbull government, a key election pledge in 2019 and supposedly one of the PM's highest priorities, suggests more than a modicum of disorganisation. And the fact that 5 Liberal MPs crossed the floor to vote with the Labor Party for a crossbench amendment weeks out from an election suggests more than a modicum of internal division. And the fact too that the amended bill has now been shelved, that's right, shelved all for nothing, because the government fears it's now making a bad situation worse, not better, suggests that it may have been a doomed exercise from the start. It's worth remembering the demand for this religious discrimination legislation only arose in and around the same-sex marriage debate, when religious schools and faith leaders feared they might be stopped from teaching their traditional view that marriage was between a man and a woman. This was only a problem because other human rights law, originally introduced as a shield to protect minorities from discrimination, started to be used as a sword to attack once standard views and practices that had gone out of fashion, or out of fashion for some. Under our long-established legal tradition, everything that was not specifically prohibited was permitted, meaning citizens have every right unfettered unless Parliament or the courts specifically constrain them. More recently, though, a system of positive rights has been grafted onto it, meaning you only have those rights that are given to you. Something that the legal conservative in me has always fought against. It's one of the fundamental reasons, for example, why a Bill of Rights should be opposed. Almost everyone concedes, for instance, the existence of a principle of religious freedom. But what happens when rights rub up against each other? When my right to express a view rubs up against your right not to be offended? Or when the right of one school parent rubs up against another? This is the minefield that the government has got itself into, and that's what split the Liberals last night, because there's no agreement on whose rights come first. This was probably always a fight best avoided or tackled by repealing existing and problematic laws rather than adding more fuel to the rights fire. I've rarely seen an example where more laws, more complexity, more legislation fixes a difficult problem. Indeed, taking laws away and giving power back to people in what inevitably provides more protections and freedoms is what we're after. In any event, it's become a complete shambles, hasn't it? Because of this last-minute rush and the disorganisation. And that's been one of the key failings of the Morrison government. It's become very presidential in the last couple of years. If the PM isn't doing it, nothing much happens. And because the PM, quite understandably, has been preoccupied with the pandemic, everything else is ground to a halt. Not much else has been done. After 3 terms, the danger is that the government will simply ebb out of office. Now, this isn't inevitable, but time is running out to avoid that fate. The sooner the Prime Minister tells us exactly what he wants to do in the next term of government and why he's the only man for the job, the better his chances.